They thought the network was invisible. At 5:27 a.m. October 29th, that illusion shattered. Ukrainian cyber units, working alongside Western intelligence, exposed and neutralized a hidden $3.4 billion financial and military lifeline between North Korea and Russia. A network of encrypted accounts, smuggled munitions, and disguised trade routes that had quietly sustained Moscow's war machine. By sunrise, the servers were offline, cryptocurrency wallets were frozen, and multiple supply convoys had gone silent. What had once flowed unseen between Pyongyang and Moscow was mapped, exposed, and erased. For months, Ukraine's analysts had suspected that North Korea's role in supporting Russia was deeper than anyone admitted. The clues were scattered. Containers labelled as industrial equipment leaving North Korean ports, shipping records listing mining tools with suspiciously military weights, satellite images of convoys unloading in the Russian Far East under darkness. Each thread led to the same conclusion. This was not trade, it was a covert arms transfer disguised as aid. Ukraine's intelligence agencies began tracing the flow of money that made it all possible. After new sanctions tightened around Moscow, blockchain analysts noticed sudden activity in privacy-based cryptocurrencies like Monero and Zcash. Hidden among anonymous transactions were repeating patterns of transfers that coincided with known Russian procurement cycles. Following the trail, investigators uncovered clusters of digital wallets tied to shell companies in Malaysia, Cambodia, and the United Arab Emirates. Each linked back to one source, servers inside North Korea's Ministry of External Economic Affairs. The discovery set off one of Ukraine's most ambitious cyber operations to date. Codenamed Project Severance, the mission moved from observation to infiltration. Ukrainian cyber teams quietly slipped into encrypted channels that connected Pyongyang's defense networks to Russian procurement offices. Weeks passed without detection. Inside, they uncovered internal ledgers, weapon orders, shipment schedules, and payment chains disguised under humanitarian trade codes. The records revealed how $3.4 billion in transactions had been laundered through North Korean state companies, Russian fronts in Belarus and Kazakhstan, and cryptocurrency exchanges across Asia. What began as a digital whisper became undeniable proof of a wartime partnership hidden behind fake paperwork and encrypted ledgers. Verification came next. Kyiv shared portions of the data with US Cyber Command and European intelligence partners. Every document was cross-checked with customs records, satellite imagery, and intercepted communications. Cargo ships sailing under false flags were tracked to Russian-controlled ports, where they unloaded industrial machinery that later reappeared as artillery fire on the Donbas front. The evidence formed an unbroken chain: money to message, ship to shell, lie to impact. Once confirmed, the takedown began. Shortly after midnight Kyiv time, Ukrainian cyber units deployed code designed to corrupt, not crash the enemy's systems. Database clocks desynchronized, communications failed to decrypt, financial ledgers began rewriting themselves with phantom entries. Within hours, over 70% of the North Korean digital infrastructure supporting Russia's logistics was crippled. In parallel, Allied financial authorities froze nearly $600 million in linked cryptocurrency assets. The web snapped. By dawn, Russia's hidden lifeline had vanished. The battlefield felt the shock almost instantly. Convoys moving from the Russian Far East halted mid-route when communications failed. Ammunition shipments were stranded on remote rail lines. Drone assembly plants in occupied territories paused production due to a lack of parts. Ukrainian reconnaissance confirmed a sudden dip in artillery activity along multiple fronts. Russian military bloggers complained of temporary logistical delays. For a war already strained by sanctions, the timing could not have been worse. The leaked files revealed a deeper humiliation. The alliance between Moscow and Pyongyang was not one of mutual power, but of desperation. Russia was paying for weapons with food, fuel, and debt. Contracts showed inflated prices and barter arrangements, trading grain and crude oil for outdated munitions. The image of a defiant superpower dissolved into a portrait of dependency, one where the Kremlin's war effort relied on North Korean shells and cryptocurrency laundered through obscure Asian banks. In Pyongyang, panic followed exposure. Satellite imagery revealed frantic movements at the ports of Najin, Chongjin, and Nampo. Containers were shuffled, vessels rerouted, and data traffic abruptly throttled. North Korean state media stayed silent for hours, an unusual delay for a regime that thrives on quick propaganda. When statements finally came, they called the revelations fabrications by imperialist intelligence. But the silence before and the desperate activity after said more than words could. North Korea's cyber units, Bureau 325 and the Lazarus Group, attempted to retaliate with counter-hacks and disinformation, but their operations faltered. Ukraine had already mirrored all critical data before shutting its servers down. By mid-morning, Kyiv released selected fragments of evidence. Decrypted emails showed communications between Russian defense officials and North Korean suppliers, arranging delivery timetables and crypto payments, some written barely 2 weeks ago. Technical diagrams revealed drone systems that Russia had planned to retrofit for reconnaissance. Every document made one point clear: Russia's war was being propped up by North Korean weapons, financed through cybercrime, and disguised as trade. The diplomatic consequences were immediate. The US, EU, and G7 announced coordinated sanctions targeting 15 companies and exchanges in Hong Kong, Dubai, and Kuala Lumpur connected to the network. The UN Security Council convened an emergency session, while South Korea and Japan called for a joint task force to track maritime and cyber routes used in sanctions evasion. Intelligence agencies in Seoul confirmed that digital signatures from the exposed network matched those used in North Korea's past cryptocurrency thefts. The same cybercrime engines funding Pyongyang's regime had been repurposed to fund Russia's invasion. Inside Moscow, chaos brewed. Intercepted communications indicated senior defense officials were blindsided by the takedown. Payment systems glitched, and procurement offices scrambled to find replacements. Some tried rerouting orders through Iran and Myanmar, but those channels were already monitored. Russia's fragile supply network, once kept alive by secrecy, was collapsing under global scrutiny. For the Kremlin, it was not just a material loss, but a psychological blow, shattering the illusion of self-reliance it had worked so hard to project. In North Korea, the economic pain deepened. Arms exports have long been one of Pyongyang's few reliable sources of foreign currency, and the $3.4 billion pipeline was an economic lifeline. Analysts estimate its collapse could cut up to 20% of the regime's covert export income. Fuel shipments from Russia slowed, spare parts stopped arriving, and black market prices for imported goods soared. For a country already strangled by sanctions, the fallout is crippling. For Ukraine, this was more than a cyber victory. It was a strategic evolution. The nation that once endured relentless Russian cyber attacks now commands the digital battlefield. Project Severance showed that modern warfare is no longer confined to trenches or skies. Power lies in information, in knowing where to cut. By dismantling Russia's hidden funding networks, Ukraine didn't just weaken an enemy, it redefined the rules of war. Western intelligence officials praised the operation as a breakthrough in hybrid warfare. Analysts in Washington and London described it as a paradigm shift, proof that smaller nations armed with precision intelligence and cyber skill can wound far larger adversaries. European newspapers mapped the money trails, while Asian outlets focused on how North Korea's economy would weather the loss. Even Russia's state media, under strict control, hinted at temporary trade disruptions. The phrasing was cautious. The meaning was obvious. The psychological blow may be the most lasting. Authoritarian regimes thrive on secrecy. Exposure is their greatest vulnerability. By forcing transparency, Ukraine stripped Russia and North Korea of their mystique. What was once hidden is now evidence. Every transaction, every shipment, every lie. Other states secretly supporting Russia are watching. The message could not be clearer. No partner, no matter how distant, can hide behind digital shadows. By early afternoon, Ukraine's cyber directorate confirmed the final phase. The last operational servers connected to the network had been shut down. Project Severance was complete. What began months ago as a faint signal in the blockchain ended as a global spectacle of precision and control. Ukraine retained full archives of the recovered data, now prepared for use in future sanctions and prosecutions. Can Russia and North Korea rebuild? Possibly, but not easily. Every route they once used is exposed. Every company and digital wallet is flagged. Even if they rebrand under new names, the global spotlight now follows them. Their advantage, secrecy, is gone. As dusk fell over Kyiv, officials issued a brief statement. Modern warfare rewards patience, intelligence, and precision. Those three words capture what unfolded today. Ukraine, once the target of cyber war, has become its architect. By exposing and erasing a $3.4 billion network of deception, it has proven that in the 21st century, wars are not only fought with missiles and tanks, but with data, truth, and mastery of the unseen.